Hello and welcome. I am Lian Won and this is Rappler Talk. Our guest for today, you might know him. He was a trending topic last night and a guest for today. Human rights lawyer Chel the former dean of the De La Salle College of Law and the chairman of the Free Legal Assistance Group. Attorney Diokno, magandang araw po.
Hi, Lian. Magandang araw sa inyo at sa lahat ng tagapanood.
I guess everyone is guessing. Napanood niyo po ba? Were you awake last night for the live address of the president?
No, actually, I was fast asleep. I only heard about it this morning when I woke up at puno-puno na yung phone ko ng mga messages.
So did you watch? Did you watch all of the mention of your name, or did you watch just some snippets of it?
Just a little bit, mostly what was sent to me, yung transcript lang.
Okay, what was your immediate reaction?
I don't know why I was suddenly the object of the president's attention. Wala naman kung ginagawa na that would merit that kind of attention. And I consider it a waste of time. Kasi sa dami ng dapat niyang bigyan ng pansin, bakit pa ako?
Okay, so let's not dwell on his rants about you. Let's go straight and challenge his recitation of the law last night. He was saying that yung shoot them dead order daw niya, it's not absolute. He qualified it and he used the term overcome the resistance, and that is found in the PNP operational manual. You've studied this, the manual of the police, because you filed the petition sa Oplan Tokhang. What can you say about that? Kailan pwedeng gumamit ng dahas ang police at kailan siya pwedeng gumamit ng baril?
Well, yung tinatawag kasi nila dyan, yung use of deadly force. And the use of deadly force is really meant to be only as a last resort. So pagka pwede naman isubdue yung huhulihin halimbawa without having to use a firearm, then di dapat mo nang gumamit ng firearm. Kung talagang wala na magawa at pati yung manghuhuling pulis ay papatayin na, then he would be probably justified in using firearm to defend himself.
I'll just read Section 8.1 po yun, attorney, nung PNP operational procedure. The manual says the use of a firearm is justified if the threat to the police is actual, imminent, and real. So tatlo, dapat actual, imminent, and real. Having represented people in Oplan Tokhang, EJ case, do you trust that the police at this time will faithfully abide by these rules?
Well, you would have to really look carefully into each and every incident and look at how it unfolded. Because it's easy to justify later. Nakita naman natin yan sa mga kaso ng Tokhang na madali lang naman sabihin na nanlaban.
Mm-hmm.
But by looking at what happened, by looking at the circumstances, then we can determine whether that is something we can believe or not. Halimbawa, I remember one particular case sa Tokhang na mismong based on the police reports, ang sabi niya, it was a bypass operation, and the three men that he met, the operative met, threw their guns all at the same time. And he was able to shoot all of them at the same time. Medyo questionable yung ganun klaseng kwento kasi parang sine nga yun nangyari pagka ganun eh. It would have been different, for example, if it were perhaps a one-on-one situation and there were other circumstances indicating na talagang justified yung killing.
And I remember you submitted a manifestation to the Supreme Court that when you studied all these reports in Oplan Tokhang, may cut and paste na parang laging sinasabi nila, di mo ng suspect ay magmumura muna, PI, pulis ka pala. Parang it seems to be the one phrase of all suspects.
Yes, we saw that in a number of significant cases. And at the same time, yung sunod na common word, yung sensing danger. We had to draw our firearm and defend ourselves. And every single operation is really unique. Kaya we were surprised na pare-pareho lang yung lengguwahe nila. When we would expect that the facts should be different, kahit na bypassed yung mga incident na yan.
I guess people or maybe people supportive of the president will say na alam naman na ng police yung gagawin nila at this time. They know how to determine whether kailan sila gagamit ng baril. But does that give you comfort knowing that hindi naman lahat ng mga deaths ng Tokhang ay naimbestigahan? I mean, you had to fight to get the documents pa, and it's been what, 3 years now. Does it give you comfort that the policemen will really know when to use proper force?
What concerns me is the fact that there was no need really for the president to mention it. Kasi nga kasama na sa training ng police yan from the very beginning. When that is mentioned by the highest official of the land, it's susceptible to being misinterpreted. And lalo na nung panahon ng Tokhang na meron pa siyang dinagdag na pag may ginawa kayo, I will pardon you, and parang ganon, ano? It leads to a different kind of mindset. And that is really what is more concerning to me. It's just like, for example, when you're dealing with people who are protesting, ang alam natin na terminology dyan, yung dapat attitude ng police ay maximum tolerance. Pero pagka may sinabi ka na shoot to kill, ay parang nag-iiba na yung tingin ng police. Kasi isipin nila at ibig sabihin ay hindi na maximum tolerance ang gagawin natin. So that, I think, can lead to confusion and misinterpretation.
And siguro, Attorney Diokno, let's clarify lang that even the PNP manual doesn't say kill. It just says you can use your firearm, you can use force, you can use your gun if there's a threat. It didn't say kill the suspect.
Yes, what it means is really to repel the aggression and to subdue the assailant. In fact, yung kill ay talagang wala sa lengguwahe ng mga manual yan eh.
Yeah. Because the Constitution guarantees the right to life.
Exactly.
Balikan ko lang po yung Oplan Tokhang. It was the word used was not kill. The word used was neutralize. At ilang beses niyo tong pinoint out sa Supreme Court that Senator De La Rosa's PNP CMC 16/2016 used the word neutralize at parang doon na na-authorize yung mga police na pumatay. To be clear, this circular cannot at any point be used in the operation to address the pandemic. Hindi siya kasali.
It's really limited to the war on drugs. And in fact, as we pointed out in our petition to the Supreme Court, when the term neutralized does not have a legal definition. So you are inviting actually the police to define it themselves. And if you talk to them, if you have friends in the police, pag nagkwentuhan tayo at ginamit natin yung salitang neutralize, it could include the killing of the person or the suspect. Kaya doon pa lang ay medyo nagtataka kami kung bakit yun ang ginamit na salita when the language of the manual could have easily have been adopted and put into the circular.
Attorney Diokno, I'm gonna move on to the summons dun sa sabina ng isang humingi ng saklolo sa'yo. Can you describe to us ano yung profile niya? Is that person a prominent personality? Is he or she a blogger or ordinary citizen lang ba siya?
Ang pagkakilala ko sa kanya ay ordinary citizen lang siya. I don't think he's an influencer or somebody, definitely not a celebrity. And dun sa nakita kong mga post niya, it's just like many other posts I've seen from other people who are expressing their opinion about what's happening. Yeah, I was, even before this case came around to me, I had already expressed some apprehension about the government's blurring of the distinction between what we call or false news or fake news and legitimate criticism of what's happening. Malayo kasi yung dalawa when you look at it from a legal perspective. You have basically two laws that prohibit false news. One is an old law, nasa revised penal code natin, Article 154. In fact, I was very curious about that law. Hinanapan ko yan kung may case na umabot sa Supreme Court. I was not able to find a single case that reached the Supreme Court from that particular provision. But it simply prohibits use of false news as news. So you peddle it as real news when actually you just made it up. So yun yung Article 154. And then you have the provision now in RA 11469, yung Bayanihan Act, that is, pag kinompare mo side by side yan with the Revised Penal Code, iba siya. Because
Ibang-iba.
the Revised Penal Code talks about publishing false news. The RA 11469 talks about spreading false information. So you can immediately see medyo mas malawak yung bagong law natin. And it is perhaps more susceptible to that kind of broader interpretation.
I'll go back to that later. Yun po bang, have you able to identify or distinguish which of the posts of your client might have generated a subpoena, or is it a collective post? And nag-viral ba yung mga post niya? Kasi baka ang iniisip ngayon ng mga citizen, wala naman ako masyadong friends, pero matatapang yung mga post ko. Do I have to be viral to merit a subpoena? I mean, for me to get subpoenaed by the NBI?
I wish I could answer your question, but we really have no idea at all kung ano yung post or posts na dahilan kung bakit siya na-inisyuhan ng subpoena. Because all he received was a simple sheet of paper in the subpoena itself, no indication what particular posts were involved. We have not been given a copy of any complaint or supporting documents. So when the hearing comes around, that's the very first thing I will do, is ask for whatever documents they have to support the subpoena. And ang nakalagay lang doon, kung sabihin natin kung meron bang hint doon, ay allegedly for violation of Article 154. Yun lang nakalagay.
Reviewing all your clients' posts, are you confident that his posts are legitimate dissent? Hindi siya nag-incite to sedition, hindi siya utterly false. It's just legitimate dissent.
Doon sa mga nakita ko, wala akong nakikitang fake news or false news na prohibited by law. Wala.
Going back to Bayanihan Law, sir, yung Section 6E ba ata yun? And the penalizing of spreading false information. Sa second paragraph kasi, nakalagay, which causes panic, anarchy, fear. Is that a source of comfort for you that may qualification what is false information under Bayanihan Law, or do you still think it's broad?
It's a bit subjective when you say causes panic, sows fear. Medyo, yung wording kasi ng Article 154 is public order. So medyo mas may legal definition yon. Pero pag sinabi natin chaos, fear, panic, it's like I said, worded in a much broader way. We have yet to see kung paano gagamitin talaga yung batas na yan.
Do you think it's a valid fear na baka lahat tayo under surveillance na? Because the ICT has millions of confidential funds and they admitted that much of it is for surveillance. Are we all being monitored? Is that a valid concern?
I really can't say, but I am concerned by the fact that based on the news reports, there were at least 16 others who were issued subpoenas by the NBI. Na mukhang ganun din sa mga post din nila. And that to me has a chilling effect on the ordinary person. Ngayon, I've been receiving messages from friends na, ay, delikado pala mag-post ngayon, baka masabina din ako. So, doon pa lang ay nakikita natin na meron na epekto yung pag-issue ng subpoena.
Going off of what you said na maraming nagsasabi sa iyo na natatakot na, ayaw nang mag-post, would you want to advise people what to steer clear of? Parang that we do not suppress their freedom of expression, pero we make sure that we do not give the government an easy job to say, or baka illegal yan. What do they steer clear of when they post?
Well, I think there are two particular things that we should be wary of. Number one, of course, is libel. So when you maliciously defame somebody, you call them out with words that will depict them as criminals or damage their reputation. Yun talagang pwede kayong makasuhan yan. The other is the offenses that relate to political speech. Yung tinatawag natin na inciting to sedition and inciting to rebellion.
Alam na alam mo yan, attorney. Kaka-clear mo lang dyan.
Oo nga. Which both require the language to be inciting to violence, inciting taking up of arms, rising up publicly and tumultuously. So as long as wala naman ganun na language na na hinihikayat natin yung iba na mag-armas at makipag-away at makipaglaban sa pamahalaan, ay you're okay. But just make sure that you don't cross that line.
I'm gonna go back to the charge of inciting to sedition against Rodel Jaime, yung nag-upload ng videos ni Bicoy. Ang nasa resolution ng DOJ, ang ginamit na lang provision dun sa inciting to sedition ay parang you prevent the authority from from performing their function. And the reasoning in the resolution is that by uploading the videos, accusing the president of being linked to the drug trade, then you effectively undermine the drug war. So that's preventing them from exercising their function. Parang ang broad din nun.
I agree with you. I don't see the connection between what they're claiming and the effect that they say was the result of that alleged action. And you have to remember that the main element, and if you look at the jurisprudence, I think that's pretty clear, that the main element when you're talking about both sedition and inciting sedition and inciting to rebellion is really yung public taking up of arms or uprising. So although may language na ganyan sa inciting to sedition, that has to be read in the context of the entire law.
Din my second worry is that yung warrantless arrest. Kasi sobrang buzzword na sa gobyerno yung continuing crime. And we saw it in Rodel Jaime nga na for as long as the post is up on the internet, they're classifying it as continuing crime. Under Bayanihan Law Section 6 for yung spreading of false information, can the government arrest people now without warrants for their posts?
Well, first, let me answer you about continuing crime. I totally disagree with the government's interpretation of that. Continuing crime really is intended for a crime like kidnapping, where you are holding a person against his will or her will, and for every single day and hour that you're doing that, talagang pwede ka dapat hulihin. That because the crime is still being committed. But when you post something, when you put it on the internet, that's just one act. And if you ask them, bakit ilan count ba ang isasampa ninyo? They will tell you that it's just going to be one count. Kasi isang publication lang yun eh. Iba yung i-retweet mo pero yung assuming isang beses mo lang pinost yun. I don't really think that is a valid way of interpreting the law on warrantless arrest. Besides, the real procedure that we know is if they come across a post like that, then they should file the complaint, have a preliminary investigation, and only after there is probable cause can the application be made to the court and the warrant issued. Dapat ganun lang talaga.
Well, we saw in General Santos City, a teacher, ni-raid yung bahay niya. She didn't even use her real name, so meron talagang manhunt na nangyari. And she was in jail for, I think, 3, 4, 5 days bago nakaabot sa korte. So I'll ask this because offices are closed, baka matagalan yung fiscal, matagalan yung inquest. In a case of that there is a warrantless arrest, how long can the police legally keep you in custody in the case na hindi talaga makakarating yung fiscal?
They are still bound by what we have in the revised penal code. So the inquest must be conducted between 12-18 to 36 hours, and the case filed in the court within that period of time. Depende kung serious offense yan, maximum 36. Kung minor yan, 12 hours lang. So ganun dapat yung gawin ng ating police. Even in this public emergency, I don't think that those periods have been extended. But I do know that the court just issued the other day a rule for conducting at least some proceedings online. Mm-hmm. It's being rolled out now, so we have yet to see how that will operate in reality on the ground.
So to be clear, sir, yung 12, 16, 36 ba yung isa? 12, 18, 36? 12, 18, 36. Dapat within this period, makasuhan ka na. Kung hindi ka pa nakakasuhan, kailangan kang palayain within that.
Pwede pa naman nilang ituloy yung preliminary investigation, but in terms of keeping you under detention, ay hindi dapat.
Kasi ang hirap din namang mag-file ng petition for habeas corpus at this time, di ba?
Yeah, it's very difficult. Yes.
Sir, going back to your client, are you actually gonna bring him to UN Avenue sa Manila sa NBI, or are you gonna ask na baka pwede namang written explanation na lang, baka pwede ring electronic na lang ang sagot ng kliyente ko?
Well, in the first place, I wouldn't want him to risk going out and perhaps
Yeah.
violate even the quarantine. So if as much as possible, I will make that kind of request to the NBI. But I hope that I will be able to contact the person who issued the subpoena by Monday. I did make a try to call the other day. Hindi ko siya, wala daw siya doon sa opisina. Para malaman ko rin kung paano ba ang takbo ng investigation given that we're all under the enhanced community quarantine.
So it looks like lawyers are going to be forced to be in the front lines also. How do you see lawyers go forward and help people, pero to minimize then their exposure and the risk? Meron po ba kayo naririnig na efforts into helping people who needs legal service?
Yes, in fact, even from where I am under quarantine, marami na rin na maabot sa akin ng mga iba't ibang mga requests o mga tanong, sometimes direct appeals for assistance. And there are some occasions where the lawyer has no choice but to go. If you have a client who was arrested and is in the police station or is going to be detained, if you just remain in your home, you may not be able to do what you really have to do for your client. At the same time, you have to weigh that against the health risks involved for yourself. Yeah, it's good that there was this issuance of the Supreme Court. We have to see now kung paano ngayon ma-implement. At sana naman maayos ang pag-implement niya.
Sir, but as of last IATF guidelines, wala ata ang lawyering sa essential task. Do you plan to appeal to anyone, to the IBP, na ilagay doon? Kasi baka mamaya pag lumabas ka, hulihin ka rin for breaking quarantine.
That's a very good suggestion. That's something that also crossed my mind. I hope that the IBP or the court itself will issue some guidelines for that. Na kung talagang emergency at wala tayong magawa, payagan naman nila. I guess on the ground naman, the law enforcers will be open to that, or I hope so anyway.
I always ask this, sir. Is there a way to balance upholding human rights, with respecting human rights, but also strictly enforcing quarantine, that people stay home?
Yes, I think that is a very clear understanding even in the human rights community. We have what we call the difference between derogable and non-derogable rights. So for example, for the right to travel, the freedom of movement, when you have a public health emergency, it is very acceptable that is limited, that the regulations are put not allowing you to do that because of the risk of getting infected or infecting others. I really have no issue with that. What is also very clear from our understanding of human rights is that there are other rights that no matter how severe the emergency, we cannot restrict. For example, the right to be treated with dignity. O sige, you violate quarantine, lagay natin you violate curfew. Pero wag naman natin ilagay sila sa isang dog cage. That is really a clear violation of human rights because you're treating them like animals rather than like persons. The right to life. Of course, whether emergency or not, if there are circumstances where that the police may be justified in taking a life, but these are really very limited circumstances. And it's not really because of the emergency, but because there are certain situations where the police has no choice but to defend themselves and subdue the person who's attacking. So yun. And to me, we have to understand and accept that those restrictions are there for certain rights. But when it comes, let's say, to freedom of expression, especially online, since we're all at home, as long as you remain within legitimate criticism, there should be no penalties, no kind of harassment put on you by the government.
So, sir, obviously the president is very angry at you, and you have been sued before and cleared of inciting to sedition. Do you worry about what you post? Simula ngayong umaga.
I haven't even had time actually to think about it. But, a lawyer for so long that this is second nature to me. That before I post anything, I
Yeah.
really make sure that hindi siya magiging libelous, o hindi
Yeah.
kaya siya magiging basis ng kasong sedition or inciting to rebellion.
So lastly, I don't know if you're willing, but do you have a recommendation to the president on how can he ensure strict quarantine but also respect human rights? Because we never know, baka pakinggan ka naman niya. He might be listening.
But I think we can learn a lot from how other democratic countries have done it. They didn't have to use a heavy hand into their citizenry. They made sure that all their actions as far as the public emergency were transparent, and they made sure that everybody understood that this was for their own good. So hindi siya naging paternalistic, pero more on the spirit of we're all in this together and we need to do this for everybody's sake, because nobody wants to harm especially anyone else in their family. Kung ganun ang approach, palagay ko, lalo na sa atin kultura na we're so family-oriented, that's the type of approach I think that our people would really embrace.
Okay, thank you very much. That has been Attorney Chel Diokno. Thank you for watching Rappler Talk.